Becoming a therapist has been one of the most life-changing experiences that I've had because it taught me so much about not just life and relationships, but also about myself. So today I'm sharing my unfiltered thoughts, the biggest takeaways in life, in relationships, and in myself. And if you're someone who's on a path to self-growth and self-development, you definitely don't want to miss these. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Allie. I'm a self-development and relationship coach, and I focus on all things related to how to become your best self and also have happier and healthier relationships. I put out new videos each week, so definitely make sure to hit subscribe. Without further ado, let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is that you truly are the creator of your life. So many times I've heard people make excuses of why they can't do things, or because of the emotions that they're having, this becomes this huge block. There's an emotional, invisible wall in front of them that they cannot pass. If somebody has severe anxiety, or if they struggle with confidence, if they have depression, it can literally become this invisible wall that blocks you from everything that you want to achieve. But what a lot of people don't realize is if you start to take that wall down metaphorically in your mind, the goals that you want to seek, the version of you that you want to be, everything you want for yourself is on the other side of the wall, and the only thing standing in the way of you and that version of you, the person that has all the things that you want, is this huge mental block. We all have emotions. We all go through difficult things in life, but at a certain point, you have to get up and decide for yourself that you're going to push forward, that you're going to go after the goals and the things that you want. From what I've seen, what holds people back is that the thoughts become so big, and then the thoughts become truths or facts. Just because you have a thought or an emotion that makes it feel like something's hard to do or hard to go after doesn't mean that that's a fact. So say, for instance, if somebody is really insecure or worries a lot about what other people think, that can hold them back from going after their goals, from pursuing the job that they want, making videos and putting them online because they worry what people are going to think. If there's something that you truly want to go after, and what's stopping you from doing that is the fear of judgment and what other people are going to say, the reality is there's always going to be people who aren't there for you. There's always going to be people who don't support you, but those aren't your people. Your people are going to root for you, cheer for you. Anybody who's ever pursued a goal or gone after a new avenue that's not familiar to them knows that feeling of not being sure what's on the other side, not knowing the outcome. But the people that go and push through and do it, they know the success and the win. Those are going to be the people you want in your corner. We can't let worry or fear what other people are going to think or judgment stand in the way between you and everything that you want for yourself, because ultimately the choices and the decisions that you make today, it directly impacts your life a year from now, 5 years from now. So working on the mindset, working on how you're perceiving these blocks or what feels to be impossible to get through, we need to shift that, because that's the thing that's standing in the way from the version of you are now to the life and everything that you want ahead of you. Nobody is going to do it for you. This is something that you have to learn how to do for yourself. I've seen it so many times that there's this turning point where when people get so frustrated and tired of not being able to make progress forward, that they just say, "F it, like I'm going to go for this," and they push past whatever that mental block is, and the amount of change that happens in a short time frame can be so amazing and so incredible, because they're no longer letting those perceived blocks or that invisible wall in front of them hold them back. If there's any part of your life that you're feeling like there's a block, ask yourself, is this a real block? And if it is, what can I do to solve it? And how badly do I want this so I can start going after it? If you wait for motivation to hit, you're never going to get there. Motivation is so unreliable. It's not going to show up 100% of the time, 80% of the time. You have to create systems to be able to get to the place that you want to be. And I actually just made a video about this, so I'll put it up here too if you want to check it out next. Because goals and motivation, it's not going to be the thing that's going to get you to where you want to be. What is going to get there is having that fearlessness, having that inner drive and desire that, okay, no matter what, I'm going to go after it, and I'm not going to let the excuses or the emotions or whatever it is get in my way of that. The next one that I want to talk about is the patterns occurring in your life. If you notice repeating patterns or the same situation happening over and over, it's going to keep repeating until you learn the lesson. There's something that we're not learning. There's something we're not doing that's attracting that. It's like giving you that lesson in a test, and then once you learn the lesson and pass it, you don't see that same lesson come up anymore. I've seen this happen so many times. I've seen this in my own life. I can speak for myself when it came to learning how to use my voice and how to speak up for myself. I would find myself in the same stressful situation until it got to the place where I felt more confident doing this. I felt more comfortable. There was a pattern that I saw where I could have started speaking up sooner to prevent a bigger issue down the road. If you find yourself questioning something in your life where you're like, why does this always happen to me? Look at the pattern. Is there a lesson that you need to learn? Is something else going on that you can course correct to build up some part of yourself so that that pattern can remove itself and that you don't have to have that reoccurring stressor? The last general life lesson that I've seen over and over is you have to want it more than anybody else. You can have people in your life rooting you on. You could have therapists, coaches, people working with you. But if you ultimately don't want it for yourself more than other people, you're not going to see the growth that you want. Sometimes people go to therapy or they go see a coach and they're like, okay, fix me. This is the issue. I know what the issue is. Fix it. You have to do the inner work and say, okay, if I want to build up confidence, I need to go put myself in situations where I can do that. If I need to learn boundaries, then I need to start speaking up. And what situations can I do that in? I've seen change happen so fast. I have seen people completely turn their lives around in just 3 months. I've seen relationship miracles. I have seen people reach goals in themselves that they've told me, like, I've never been able to do this before. And the trick is, for one, you have to have a really good relationship with the person that you're working with and trust them and feel really comfortable with them. But the second piece is, once you learn the tools and all the things that you need, it's being able to apply that for yourself, because once you do that, change can happen so much faster than you ever thought it could. One of the biggest lessons that I've learned in relationships is all of your relationships are a direct reflection of how you feel about yourself, how much love you have for yourself, what your self-worth is. So many of the videos and stuff that I put out talks about self-worth because of this. If we keep finding ourselves attracting people, friendships, romantic relationships, work relationships, where we're not treated the way that we want to be, there's probably a part in there where you're not speaking up for yourself. There's probably a part for yourself that you're not taking care of. And this can be the missing piece to being able to create the healthiest relationships that you really want to have, like drawing in the right people and having people really show up for you. If you're not taking care of your needs and your well-being and putting the relationship with yourself first, all other relationships are going to suffer. The message you're sending to yourself is that you're not important. You're not as important as another person. If, let's say, you're dating somebody and every weekend consists of all the things they want to do, but you never speak up about the stuff you want or what your needs are in the relationship, for one, they're never going to know, so they're never going to be able to meet those. But my guess is you're also not meeting those needs for yourself, which is why you're allowing somebody else to not meet those needs and not speaking up. Being able to learn how to love yourself, and this isn't doing a face mask or those superficial things, but I mean on a deep core soul level, truly love who you are, show up for yourself, take care of yourself and your needs, and prioritize that. All of the other relationships, they're not going to be the relationships that you really want. They're not going to have the emotional frequency and vibration that you're wanting to draw into your life. And so a lot of times people are like, well, what do I do and how do I build this up? It's not as hard as you think it is. It really comes down to self-reflection, asking yourself how things felt. Did you speak up? Are you taking care of your needs? As uncomfortable as it may be, getting away from people pleasing, learning how to say no, and not always being available for people. That can be one of the most life-changing things you can do and start to better all of your relationships. You're going to be more refreshed when you show up to be around people. You're going to be more your authentic self, and you're going to have naturally a higher bar and standard for the people that you want to have in your life. Ask yourself, is there any place in your life that you're abandoning your needs, that you're not listening to what you want to do for yourself, or not taking care of yourself, or not prioritizing yourself? Because that would be the place to start to build that relationship and start having a true love for yourself. And then you'll end up seeing that naturally reflected in the relationships around you, because when people don't show up, you're going to say, this is uncomfortable, this doesn't feel good. That is one of the best places to start. It's working on self-reflection. It's starting to recognize actionable things that you can do. It's giving yourself the message that you matter. For people who are dating, this is another huge life lesson. People oftentimes fall in love with the ideal version of somebody, but not the reality version of them. Or people can show up maybe the first couple weeks of dating as this really great version of themselves, but they hang on to that image instead of seeing the reality that maybe that was just how they show up at first. Maybe they like the love bombing. Maybe they like the really passionate beginning, but the reality is they can't sustain the relationship. Maybe they're not there emotionally. They're not ready to commit. There's something that's incompatible. If you find yourself constantly overthinking, what's this person doing? Why aren't they calling me? Why aren't they showing up? And you focus more on your feelings for them than actually how they show up and treat you, you're falling in love with the romanticized version of them in the relationship, not the reality of it. Because then people can either decide for themselves if that's something that they're okay with and they want to continue to pursue, or they raise that standard. And again, that feeds into like having that strong relationship with yourself, loving yourself enough to be able to walk away from something that might not work for you. Or if it's something where you have to learn how to speak up to communicate what your needs and expectations are, by doing that, that gives the person the opportunity to show up for you. They may not have known that this was an issue, and being able to make informed decisions from there of what's right and what's not right for us. And the last part of relationships that is so important is really understanding what a healthy relationship looks like. Healthy love isn't always the fireworks and passion in the beginning. It can be the person who brings stability into into your life, who helps you feel calm, who helps you feel grounded, who can be in it with you in the long run. It's really being able to look at what's healthy, what suits you, and having the courage and strength to speak up on things. And if something's not working out or someone's not showing up, having the strength to walk away. The last section I want to talk about is all of the lessons that I learned for myself. Even though I left it, that's actually one of the takeaways. Learning to listen to myself and my intuition and what's right for me has been one of the most important lessons, because before this, I cared so much more about the superficial things. Before I started college, I was not a good student. I barely went to class. I was cutting class. I basically barely passed high school and barely graduated. So going into college, I was redefining who I am. And so much of what I've talked about is our self-concept, how we see ourselves. And I've done a video on this, so I'll link it here too. But how we see ourselves shapes so much of what we believe about ourselves, how we show up in the world, what we go after. So coming from a place where I barely graduated high school to then getting into Berkeley, becoming studious, going to USC, getting my master's, I learned so much more about what I actually value, what really matters to me, the things that I want to go after. And it's not the fancy job title, because at the end of it, the last place I worked at was super toxic, and that empowered me to be like, what do I want for myself? What do I actually value? How do I want to help people? Because the way I was helping them in the system that I was working in didn't feel like it was aligned with that. I genuinely wanted to show up and help people get past the blocks that they were having, shift where they're at internally to be able to change their lives, have healthier relationships. And I didn't feel like I was able to do that in the role that I was in the place that I was working at. So what I really learned from this is, for one, to trust my intuition. Nobody is going to know what's right for you besides you. Nobody lives a day in your life. You are the person who spends the most amount of time with yourself. So when I left therapy, a lot of people didn't understand this. My family wasn't supportive of it. They couldn't understand why I went through all this school and work just to go into something that didn't necessarily need that background. But for me, I knew what felt right. I knew what didn't. And that switch and listening to that and not listening to the chatter of other people has been one of the greatest things that I've done, because I absolutely love what I do. I love meeting with all the clients that I meet with. I love seeing the growth, and I love being able to connect with people in what feels so much more authentic to me. And having a pivot that goes into such a more fulfilling life has been so great, because I see the change that's possible. I've seen it for myself. I've seen it for other people, and it makes me more passionate to do the things that I'm doing. The last part that I learned for myself is that if you want something, this goes for me, for you, for anyone. If someone truly wants something, they can have it. When you truly decide you want something and you don't worry so much about the outcome, but you start doing the steps to help you get there, the changes that can happen can be so amazing in such a short amount of time. So if you think for yourself, what are some of the things that you want to do? What can you go after? Start to think about that. And I would love to hear if any of this really resonated with you, any huge takeaways or things that you might want to start applying in your own life. Let me know in the comments, because I do check them and I try to respond to everybody. So I'd love to hear from you, and make sure to hit subscribe, because I would love to see you in my next video.